opportunity to speak this morning in the children's church, and they gave me such a heartfelt, half-hearted song this morning. It was so funny, but depressing at the same time. But it was so funny. I would like to say this though about our children. Man, they are smart. Only one amen? They are smart. Yes, they are smart. Okay. And I was just blessed. I haven't taught in children's for a long time. So I think the kids know me from music, from worship, or the junior choir, but they don't know me from, unless a few of them have been in the youth service, they don't know me from, teaching in the children's setting. So I think some of them were surprised by that I was able to match their energy level. I was sharing earlier that if you're teaching the children, no matter what kind of character you have, if it's a relaxed character, if it's a really outgoing character, no matter what kind of character you have to match the energy of the children, or else they'll just easily be, their attention will go elsewhere. But I just gauged that, man, our children are so smart, and they have a certain understanding, even an appreciation for the word. Because basically what I'm speaking about tonight, I took that and tried to adapt it for the children. And I didn't realize that when Sister Ann asked me to share with the children, I was like, yeah, sure. And then I didn't realize that I had an assignment to share tonight. I thought it was going to be for next week. So I was like, okay, I have 2 weeks for Sunday night, And then all of a sudden, Wednesday, I realized, it's for, I'm going to share with the children and in the evening. So it's really a blessing. And it's a blessing to see our children grow in the Lord. My children are there. How old are my children again? 10 and 11. And some of your kids are right up there, if not already older, high school, and some are going to college. So the Lord is really blessing our church. And I mention that because, yes, we start to look back and start to think about the things that you've gone through and the things that you've experienced. And especially today being my birthday, not that I want to keep saying it's my birthday, but, when my birthday comes around, as I've shared with many of you guys before, when my birthday comes around, I don't think, I'm getting old, right? Or my hair's getting thinner. My hair's always been thin, but maybe it's getting thinner. I don't really care, right? Or whatever those thoughts may be. Or I'm looking older, I don't know, right? I don't know, whatever. But really what I think about is, what have I done for the Lord, right? In this past year, how have I served the Lord? Have I lived up to what God has wanted me to do in this past year, past couple of years? So with that said, I want to share some testimony of what the Lord has been doing in my life. Please pardon me if I read a little bit, because I wanted to make sure that I don't spend too much time ad-libbing and going on tangents, but at the same time be able to share what the thoughts that had come up from my spirit. And so allow me to testify, okay? One of the things that I realized that when we have these opportunities to share, I found that for me personally, one of the best things that I can do is just come up and, as best as possible, so that people understand what I'm trying to convey to you guys, to really just be myself. So I'll try my best to be myself in a way that you guys understand. But allow me to share. And hopefully I can go by quickly. But I want you guys to have a gauge of where I'm coming from tonight as I share with you. Today I turned 39. Wow. Right? And, like I said, age doesn't really is not really a big deal for me, right? But really it's age along with what have I accomplished for the Lord. That's really what speaks to me. Because if I think 39, I don't think 40, but I think 29. What has happened in the last 10 years, for example. And it just so happened that I have opportunity to speak to you tonight on my birthday, turning 39. So it's a privilege, and it's really gives me an opportunity to reflect on how the Lord has blessed our family. So if it just so happens, if I just so happen to get some dust in my eyes, please, I just really want you guys to have some gauge and understanding of where I'm coming from tonight as I share. And there's no school tomorrow, right? All right, no, just kidding. Want to go home early? No, I'm just kidding. So let me begin. It was almost 10 years ago when I made a faith decision to leave my corporate B2B sales position. It was almost around 10 years ago. Yeah. It was a decision that I made along with the consultation of my wife, my family, with prayer and fasting, and the direction of Pastor Zay and other leaders of our church. The company I came from was a Fortune 200 company, best place to work. Sometime during my training there, it was my birthday. And I actually catered in some pancit and some Lincoln bread, if you guys are familiar with the Lincoln bread that I brought to church before, from one of my friends that became a chef. And so I brought some in for my batch, my group of trainees, my fellow trainees, fellow co-workers. So I brought in food for my group and sales directors. And so immediately got noticed right away. If you feed your bosses, they will remember you, right? No? You guys don't feed your bosses? And sometime during my training, once I passed the training, it was about roughly a 3-month training, very hardcore training. Okay, then they put you onto the floor. They give you a portfolio of contacts, and they literally say, okay, this is what you have. But what they give you is a portfolio of people that probably are not even rarely even doing business. Some of them you see dollar signs next to the name, like for example, Irwin's business, $5,000 for the last year. Alyssa's business, whatever it may be, $2,000 for the last year. So that's really just maintenance, purchasing, or maybe we were the Office Max for them that year. They bought toner and paper, right? So it's a technology company, right? So when I passed the training, my first month, sold about $30,000 worth of technology. Jasmine was happy about that because if you know sales is a commissions job. So it was about $30,000 within the healthcare vertical to complete strangers. And how? Over the phone. All over the phone. Originally, my territory was the South, and then eventually became the West, and the West in your view, and then eventually became the Northwest. So I had my territory. Or actually, it was the Gulf, the West, and then the Northwest. So it kind of swooped up in your view of the map, right? So things like Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, then it swooped up to California, Colorado, Utah, all those kind of things. And that's actually where I started to learn a little bit more about geography, because I was really bad about geography in grade school. So by the time I was done there, I was selling out of the Northwest. So passed my training, first month sold about $30,000. And first month right out the door, and they put you on the floor, they put you on the phones. And so once again, I got noticed again. Okay, so imagine B2B is business to business, right? So business to business sales over the phone. Over the course of less than 2 years being there, God really gave me favor. Okay, so I was promoted twice, and then before I left, many of you guys know, before I left, I was working for a performance group who would sell Lenovo products, right? So if you guys are familiar with Lenovo computers and stuff like that. So I worked in a specialty group. But then you may ask, why? What was the reason you left that? So that was almost 10 years ago to around this time. What was the reason that you left, Brother Hansel, and for what purpose? Well, in short, I had an opportunity to pursue helping our church further, help with the choir, and help provide more concentration on my ability to serve and work here in the music ministry of our church. But even as I left the corporate job, and then even as I started to serve here more in the church more regularly, more regular time, I still had a part-time job. And eventually, Jasmine and I, we started our own business. It was registered with the state. It was registered with the city of Chicago. And we had our own service business, cleaning, whatever could fall under the realm of service. Hansel, can you clean out my mother-in-law's apartment? She passed away. Can you clean it out? Yeah, sure, we'll do that. Hansel, Gary referred me to a friend of his. I don't know, is Gary here? Gary referred me to a friend of his, a Chinese gentleman. And this is a very superstitious Chinese family. So I had to show him particular colors, because of, what's it called? Feng Shui or whatever? Is that what it's called? And I've only heard about it through movies, stuff like that. And I would do that work. You can ask my mom, because my mom is even like, my mom, Jasmine had to stay home with the kids. And then my mom even would see how, I would struggle and doing that kind of work. And I would work a Friday night. I would leave church, go there, work a Friday night somewhere in Streamwood, and then work until 5 in the morning, and then come home. And then try to pick up on some rest. And then on that Saturday afternoon, I would have work again. And then try to prepare for the Sunday morning, for the Sunday day, right? Like tonight, right? So before leaving that corporate job, really God gave me favor, right? I was identified as a candidate to move into a junior account manager position, eventually in a senior account manager position, and then subsequently to be responsible for a multi-million-dollar portfolio. It wasn't unheard of. It was crazy to hear the amounts of money that some of these people are making. Definitely in the six figures, and you say, wow, right? It's why did you do that, right? But obviously you don't walk around and say, hey, I was supposed to handle a multi-million-dollar portfolio. We don't go around telling people that, right? But this is like a family here. You guys are like my family. So to what purpose and to what end, to what goal? And honestly, at the time, all that I knew was that this is what God wanted me to do. So if I had a goal, that was it. I just wanted to do what God wanted me to do. That was the goal. Now, to what end of that goal, I wasn't really sure at that time. The purpose was to follow God's leading. The goal was simply to do. So God said, Hansel, this is an opportunity for you. And the purpose was, the purpose was to follow that. It may be very short told, but it was literally that simple. Now, to be completely honest with you, for more than half of those 10 years from today, probably the most challenging 10 years of my life. My children will never know the extent of the challenge and the struggle that Jazz and I had to go through. But I mean, week to week having to count pennies. I mean, folks counting literally pennies and dollars. Sometimes we complain about money. We don't have $50. We don't have $100. We don't have $200. Get rid of your cable. You'll have that money. So, change to a prepaid cell phone service. You'll have that money. There's so many ways, but yeah, we come. So I patiently hear people talk like that, and then I say, well, I'm not sure if you've really lived a scraping paycheck to paycheck. Maybe you have, but that's where we were at. So just barely enough surviving just to make bills, and literally paid everything cash because we couldn't even get credit cards. And if we did, we would just hold on to them for for a dire emergency, right? Just having enough to barely survive, waiting for the gas light to turn on in your car, just so that it's really getting empty, and then filling up just a few bucks, because that's really all you had at the time. That's all we had at the time. Because that extra, if we put $10, that extra $5 might have been needed to purchase some food or something. And then obviously having to put off any remote idea of a real vacation until the next year. But I will say this, over the last 10 years of being faithful to the Lord, God has blessed our family and has allowed me to go to missions almost every single year, and ever since I started going. Still the Lord made a way for our family. Now let me fast forward a little bit. The last 3 to 4 years have been some of the best years of our lives. Still with struggle, but we have seen how there has been progression in being able to provide for the family, progression in understanding and having a little bit more clear of a vision for what God wanted for me. Because look, I am the leader of the family, and man, if you don't have vision, how can you lead your family, right? So imagine like 10 years ago, it's like, okay, Hansel, do. And I said, okay, God, I will. But then like, what's going to happen? Just keep serving me, keep trusting me. And that's where we were at. Just continued. But let me share, as we fast forward the last 3 to 4 years, favor upon favor, miracle upon miracle. I mean, if there was a favor of God meter, we'd probably break the gauge there. And God has been so faithful. Just in the last 3 to 4 years, we moved to a great neighborhood. We have a great landlord. Our kids go to one of the best schools in the city. God opened up an opportunity. And if I can literally break down every one of these specific instances and tell you, they all have a separate testimony. Moving into a great neighborhood, having a great landlord, all of them. Our kids go to one of the best schools. We don't have to even think about selective enrollment if we don't want to, right? God planted me in a job who, as many of you know, within less than 3 years of working there, it'll be my 3rd year in 2 weeks from now, being at this current job. Less than 3 years of working there allowed me to leave for a whole month for missions work, and I was able to bring my family to the mission field. A 10-year anniversary in the waiting, because when Asher went 10 years ago, he was 8 months, just started walking, and Naomi was negative. Naomi was 4 months in the belly. So it was a 10-year anniversary for a family. I said, Lord, one day I'm going to bring my family here to serve you, and we did that last August, amidst all of the challenges that God allowed us to go through. The kids are doing great in school. And this coming April, Jasmine is going to be a master. She's going to be graduating a master's in project management. And I personally am currently in the last round of a negotiation with the Golden Arches Development Corporation for a land lease deal in the Philippines. Are you kidding me? Who would have thought of that, right? Now, don't get me wrong. 10 years ago, Jasmine willingly said, well, if that's what you feel the Lord is leading you to do, you gotta do it. Man, what a submissive wife, what an encouragement to me. What does it mean when you have purpose? I was able to share with the children this morning. We had a great time. So most of them are here anyway, but ask them later. Hopefully they remember some of the 3 things. Now I told you I would like to be myself tonight, right? As I share, because when I study the Word, maybe I feel like it's really different in terms of revelation knowledge, the way that I receive it, or the way that I have understanding in the Word. I've said before that my comprehension and reading is not very good. But if you tell me something practical, if you tell me, a theme, if you tell, that's kind of how I learn. I understand those things, and able to bring those things back up, rather than like, oh, who was the third prophet mentioned in the Bible in this book, and I won't even remember, right? So in that regard, is very weak, right? But when it comes to like, if the Lord is speaking to me about something or a particular theme, or a connection to this verse, those are just practical things that I get. Sometimes, like for example, Kuya Val got to speak this morning. Kuya Val, my goodness, right? Sometimes his ability to teach and bring out all these different things, it's like this guy, man. It's amazing, right? And so, and Kuya Val knows that I'm not tooting his horn, so-called, but wow, what a mind that the Lord has given him, right? And Kuya Gerald just shared this Friday. And if I compare from not knowing really Kuya Gerald from before, but just kind of imagining, and then now he's a student in the Bible school at the Kathy. Did you ever dream about that, right? She's like, no way. Right? And I mean, so all these ways that the Lord uses. So I really just want to, as much as possible, share from how the Lord has spoken to me through some of these verses today. So in general, right, purpose, it means to have a reason of doing something, right? There's a meaning, or there's a reason behind what you are doing. So for example, we talked about it earlier this morning with our kids. If you're trying to get straight A's in school, now parents, you can answer for what's the purpose of getting straight A's? Or anybody, what's the purpose of getting straight A's? Go ahead. So they can go to a good school. What else? What's the purpose? Come on, folks. Help me out. Go ahead. Well, I mean, if you're in 6th grade, you're not thinking about the job opportunity, right? So let's think about a little bit more closer to them, right? So let's say we're talking about our kids in school, right? Let's say high school, right? So yes, maybe job opportunity, but I don't recall companies looking at your report card when you graduate from college even, right? Do they do that? No, not really, right? But they might look at some other criteria, right? So what else? What other reasons? Let's say our young children, maybe up to high school. Why do they want to get straight A's? It's a very general thing, but why do they want to get straight A's? Please, mom and dad, of course. Of course. I think that one of the very reasons why my kids think about their grades is because daddy's going to be upset. And I hope that's the same thing for your kids, right? In a very healthy and respectful way, right? What else? So I want to please mommy and daddy. If you asked who was there this morning, Rihanna, what was our symbol for pleasing mommy and daddy this morning? And heart with a mom and dad, right? So stick figure, mom and dad. You love your parents, you want to please them, right? Okay, what else? What are some other reasons, let's say up to high school, that you want to get straight A's? Or your kids? Being the best. They should be the best, right? They should excel. They should propel themselves to be the top of the class. Excellence, it's a mindset. It's something that grows within them, right? What else? Come on, help me out. James. Why straight A's? You were there this morning, bro. Come on. What kind of opportunities? Because we're not talking about jobs yet, right? Come on. Go ahead. Okay, what about them? What about them? They will look for you. Right? They'll look for you. If you got, oh my goodness, this kid in this school, amazing, right? What else? Other reasons for straight A's. Okay. So what do we call that? Scholarship. I drew on the board SCHOL and then a picture of a boat because it's a scholarship. Okay. So we get scholarships. And what is a scholarship? What kind of money? It's free money. Who does not want free money? Nobody. Right? So what does that mean? You have a purpose. If you're trying to get straight A's, you are many reasons as to why, right? Now, interestingly, I was reading through Ephesians, so if you can turn to Ephesians and get ready for that. Now, many of us are familiar with Ephesians in regards to the body of Christ, unity. We know that in the 4th chapter, it talks about the 5 functions, right, of ministry. We know that it's infamous for husbands and wives, children, right? But I don't know why, but the Lord spoke to me about purpose, and He just kind of put all these things together for me to have some kind of understanding and purpose. So if we're talking about purpose in life, right, I'd like to talk about 3 basic ways that we can pursue or that we can accomplish our purpose in life. And if you're taking notes, I have 3 really easy, quick points. And these are not like the guide map or the, what do you call it? The guide to purposeful living, right? It's not anything like that. But these are just the simple things that stuck out to me, right? But the way that it may come around, it might be a little bit different from the way that the word is presented as we read it. So number 1, one of the first basic ways, number 1 is to look within. Everyone say, look within. So we look within ourselves. Looking within obviously means that that when we are accomplishing God's purpose, we have to look at ourselves. We have to assess whether or not we have what it takes to accomplish the task or the action that we are set out to do. Now, it's interesting because this morning we also talked about goal, right? We talked about goal. So tell me quickly, what is a goal? What is a goal? Somebody tell me quickly. A goal is? Okay, point A to point B. How? Anyone else? What you want to be, what you want to achieve. Anyone else? So those are good things. Let's go with that, right? Something that we want to achieve. What did you say, Jet? What you want to be, okay, is a goal. What else? Anyone else want to add on to that? Something that you want to accomplish? Okay, yes. Okay, so if we're looking within, then we're trying to meet a specific goal, right? So earlier I talked briefly about, my 10-year testimony and how God started us from here and then we end up here. This is where we are right now. Initially, my goal or our family's goal was simply to what? To follow, to serve to do what God wanted us to do. Hands up, I'm giving you this opportunity. Will you follow it? Okay, yes. Now, why? What's the reason for that? I just simply want to obey at that time. But as the years have passed, that goal, although it still may be similar, I still want to accomplish God's will. But now as things have become more clear, now I can start to pinpoint exactly what God wants me to accomplish. And then obviously the things that I do on a daily basis, the ways that I serve in this church, the way that I'm serving my family and working every day, everything, all of that serves to accomplish this particular goal. It all has the reason of why also, right? So number 1, as we, very basic, right? How do we accomplish our purpose in life? Or the reasons why we want to reach these goals? First, we have to look within. I was really awakened to that as we, in this last year, for example, As we went into strategic planning with Pastor Jose, Pastor Jose asked questions like, what are we doing? Why are we doing what we're doing? And then one of the questions in our strategic planning was, do we have what it takes? Right? So, as an example, many of you may have particular interests like sports or cooking or dancing, singing, whatever it may be. But let's stick with sports because it's a very easy illustration that everyone can visualize, right? So if we're talking about sports, right, and we have a goal, for example, we want to join the team. There could be many reasons why you want to join the team. Very many reasons. What are some basic reasons why you want to join the team? Anybody? Let's say basketball, because it's such an obvious thing. And what are some basic reasons why anyone would want to join a basketball team? It's fun. What else? To look good? Yeah. Well, yeah, it could be. Okay. Maybe you want to show off, right? What else? Popularity. Okay, yeah. Any other basic reasons why you want to join a team? Joseph. You love the sport. You love to play. Anything else? Good company. Maybe you like the camaraderie of the team. Maybe your best friends are playing on the team. Okay, now if we go a little bit deeper, what are some reasons why someone would want to join a team, but that would have a greater effect or has more bearing on their life? What are some reasons? Go ahead. Okay, self-discipline. What else? Experience. Okay, a little bit deeper. This is a little broad. What are some deeper reasons why someone would want to join the team? There's a trophy at the end. What else? But that's just a physical thing. Who cares about a trophy? What else? What's that? Career. If someone is that good and they believe that they are good enough, and they want to pursue that, if let's say high school, obviously it starts from there really seriously. High school ball, the scouts come out, they start to look at you. Oh, this guy, Erwin, he can 6'2" and he can dunk. Wow. Wow, he has such a high, play IQ for basketball. Look at the way he passes the ball. Look how he dribbles down the court. Look at the control he has. So a deeper reason could be that he wants to go collegiate and then he eventually wants to go pro. That could be quite a deeper reason. We haven't had anyone in the church go that deep yet, right? Who knows if that's your calling one day, but we don't have anyone there. But thank God we do have your children want to become lawyers, pediatricians. I forgot the little one. She wants to be a store owner, a toy shop owner. I forgot who that was. Maybe who was that? Huh? Elise. I want to buy a toy shop. And then she said she'll buy the toys in her own shop. So it was so cute. And then we another goal, for example, we were asking around, so kids, what kind of goals do you have, right? And then they're raising their hand, this, that, and then Zoe's like this. And, she's so small. Jasmine's like, oh, just pick on Zoe because you can't see her. Oh, Zoe, what's your goal in life, right? What's your goal? I want to learn how to read. How sweet is that, right? But back to this basketball, example. There could be many reasons, right? Initially, the reasons could be they want to show off. They want to get the girls or the guys. Or they want to be noticed. Or they really want to have an outlet to be part of something. But even more importantly, maybe they are at that level where, they can go to college. They can get scholarships through that. They can pay their way through school. They can get a degree through that. Maybe if they're good enough, they might get chosen to go pro. I don't know how many out of a millions, that figure is, but it's really high. But who knows, right? I mean, if you can go to college for free because you're a really good ball player, then maybe that is something, and then hold a career out of that or not. But you can get your college degree. That could be the deeper reason, right? But at the same time, we start to question ourselves. As simple as, let's say we were talking, for example, with our young children this morning. If you're in 8th grade, you want to join the team. Now, first of all, you really have to look within. This may sound very simple, but this is something that we start to teach our kids, right? If you want to join the team, let's say I'm Hansel, I'm in 8th grade, I want to join a team. What are things that I realistically have to ask myself? What are some practical things I need to ask myself? Do I have the skill? What else? What's that? Do you have the time? Most likely you'll have the time. What else? Practical things that you start to ask yourself. Does my parents approve? And what else with parents? Will I get a ride to and from? Will they bring me to the games? Right? I have to spend extra time. That means that my homework, this and that. Well, mom and dad, do you support me doing this? Are you going to help me? Or how can you help me, etc. Right? So then we start to really go into these questions. But remember, we're still looking from within. Can I make the practices? Can my parents afford? Can my parents afford it? That's pretty practical. Sometimes your team doesn't pay for the the uniform. Sometimes you have to buy your own uniform. Sometimes you have to buy special shoes. If you're in the bowling team, if you're in tennis, if you play basketball, I mean, some of these shoes nowadays for basketball, easily $150, right? Although it doesn't have to be, but easily. And some kids buy these basketball shoes, $150 just to wear them to school with jeans. No, my son better be the next Michael Jordan. By the way, did you know today's birthday is Michael Jordan's also? Destined to be great. Just kidding. I'll give you I played high school varsity football. I mentioned it before. I was the shortest lineman that anyone has ever seen. But I was lighter, but I was very strong, I think, at that time. And so, I mean, I'm not being racist or anything, but the fact was my opponents were always either a very tall, overweight, fat white guy, or the flip side, a very tall, muscular black guy. It was either that. You'd never heard of a Filipino joining the football team, especially to be a lineman, right? And so, two practical things. If you want to be on a football team, you look within and you say, do I have the strength? And do I have the size? Do I have the speed? Or three things, right? Those are very practical things. If you're a quarterback, you certainly cannot be 5'6". Why? Because you won't even barely, if you throw the ball, you're going to be throwing at some tall guy's chest every time, right? What was that African-American quarterback? I'm not sure if he was half or whatever. Falcons? But he wasn't that tall. And I don't think he's ever come back to the Super Bowl or whatever. He didn't make a name after that. But in the last few years, or maybe several years, I think he was a black gentleman. But he was a quarterback, but his height was only like 5'10", 11. Made it to the playoffs. I think they made it to the Super Bowl. Anybody remember? Yes, I'll agree with you. I'm not sure, actually. I just remember that all the odds were against him to become a professional quarterback because he was too short. You're supposed to be at least 6'2" to 6'3", right? What's that guy, the hamburger name? Roethlisberger, right? Is that his name? Big Ben? Did he play for a yellow and black team? What team is that? I told you it was the Steelers. And so I remember I was watching something random on YouTube. Did he win a Super Bowl? So he did win. He did. But I remember they were at his house, and I think he actually had a scholarship to play basketball too. I might be wrong, but I think he's like 6'4". And you know, whenever you look at quarterbacks, you think, oh man, he doesn't really look that muscular, right? But I mean, like for example, you take off their shirts. Most of these guys, man, super guns, right? They just don't look like the running backs and the wide receivers. But surely they have the height, they have the speed, they have the strength. So it's very practical, right? Let's take a quick look at Ephesians. You're already there. Chapter 4 right there in the beginning. as a prisoner for the Lord. Verse 1. Then I urge you to live a life worthy of the calling you have received. Be completely humble and gentle. Be patient, bearing with one another. Make every effort to keep the unity of the Spirit through this bond of peace. There is one body, one Spirit, just as you were called to one hope when you were called, one Lord, one faith, one baptism, one God, Father of all, who's over all and through all and in all. But to each one of us, grace has been given as Christ apportioned it. This is why it said, when he ascended on high, he led the captives in his train and gave gifts to men. So it's obviously talking about Christ being a victor, right? But as we go back, as we start to look within, we know that Christ has apportioned to us, all of us, a specific gift, a specific something for us to accomplish the purpose and the things that he wants us to do. It says there, be humble, be gentle, and to be patient. As we have these reminders to be humble, as I recall in my testimony throughout these years, one of the things that the Lord spoke to me at a certain point, maybe I would say halfway through this testimony of mine, I was praying to the Lord, I was talking to the Lord, I was asking the Lord and questioning to the Lord, God, what's gonna become of this? You know, it's so difficult, God. And I would share this with Pastor Jose. I thank God I don't do it right now, but I recall the days, and it's all within these last several years, right? I recall the days when I would leave church and I would be in such a bad mood, and I would kind of be barky, hurry up, right? Get in the car, right, to the kids. Why? Because then I would have to leave and go to a work where it's a bit dirty and it's rough. You're by yourself, and, but you have to, because if not, then we won't even be able to, have enough for the basics. And at the time, thankfully, we didn't really have credit cards, but just for like regular things like the gas bill and whatever. And so oftentimes we're walking around the house in darkness because we were thinking, well, let's save some money, turn off the lights, And then even now to this day, we have this habit of telling the kids, we'll bark on them and be like, you guys are in one room. You're in the living room? Why is the bathroom, Asher's room, Mimi's room, and the kitchen light on? Right? And we're like, oh, right? And we'll get upset. I don't know if parents do that to your kids. Well, I don't know if you do, but we do, because we came from week to week scraping, So we're trying to teach them about being appreciative, about money, not just to throw it away, right? And it's true, for example, the story that Pastor Jose mentioned about, like, if children or his children would receive a gift and they'd be like, oh, thanks, and then throw it away to the side, right? Definitely, like, we are trying to teach that to our children to not be like that, to be appreciative. And we even explain to them, you don't know how much someone worked to buy that toy. Even if it was a $5 toy or $10 toy, toys are expensive, right, parents? I mean, just a regular Lego set's $30. Oh my gosh, those little square boxes, do you remember those back in the day? They used to be like $3, right, Erwin? And now they're like $8, right? I don't know, I grew up in Legos and G.I. Joes and stuff like that. And then, we'll go to Target to buy some, paper towel or something. And then, the kids always ask, Daddy. I'm like, what? Can we go look at the toys? Do your kids ask you that? For those who have the age young enough, right? And then yes. And then, you feel like you want to buy them something. But sometimes you just really can't, right? And so I'm like, did you see something you like? Sometimes we'll tease them. Did you see something you like? They're like, yeah. Well, maybe you can get it next time. And you just walk out, right? Because really, sometimes you really have to limit it, right? We don't want to give the impression to them that we just have everything, that we can just buy everything, afford everything, without reason, right? And so, going back to here, back to what I was mentioning about within that several year stint, at one point I said, God, to what end, right? What's going on? What do I need to do? And really, God spoke to me a very specific message to me. And he said, he shared, I was reading through the word, and what came to my spirit is quite simple. He said, Hansel, just put your head down and just keep working, right? And that was in the context of that because I'm faithful. Just put your head down and keep working. I was talking, I think, with the worship team this week, or I forget now exactly, but I think it was the worship team. And I told the worship team, young people, I said, young people, you should be so thankful for your parents, right? Because for God knows how long they've been doing the same exact thing every single day for how many years, day in, day out. Now, it's different when you're in school. Why? You have anticipation for different schedules, right? I know in high school, at least when I was in high school, we had A schedule, B schedule, C schedule, or bell, A bell, B bell. Do you guys have something like that, right? And so it's like, oh, we have B bell, so that means we have a 2-hour study period in the morning, or C schedule means we have a half day because there's, it's test. I don't know. I can't remember exactly, right? But I was telling them, the children, their schedule is very different because they have certain anticipation of things. Like I remember the anticipation for Christmas break. Do you guys remember that anticipation, that feeling? And you're like, oh, break is coming, right? And you just look forward to it. And then Christmas, and then Easter, and then that one holiday, like tomorrow is what? It's President's Day, right? And then you look forward, oh, we have the day off, and then whatever it may be. And then you have an anticipation and excitement for summer break, right? But unfortunately, CPS, our summer breaks have been cut fairly short because they go all the way out until late June. But our parents, children, be thankful for your parents because they literally put their heads down every day. They bite their teeth, wake up in the morning, get the food ready on the table, put your underwear on, put your socks on. My mom used to do that when I was a kid. While I was like half awake, she would put my socks on and my shoes. While I don't know if you guys ever did that, right? But my mom did that I just remember she would do that, and then like you'd go to school and then like half of your hair is like on this side. You know what I'm talking about? And then you'd wake up, and she's laughing because he does that sometimes. But literally, the Lord just said to me, just keep your head down, right? And just keep working. Just do your best and work. And so that's what I caught. I was reminded of that here in this verse. Be completely humble. Be gentle. Be patient. And then it says bearing with one another. So obviously there is an element of forbearance. There's an element of dealing with each other, right? Because it is talking about the unity of Christ. But then obviously what the Lord was speaking to me is a little bit different. So obviously we have to look within, everybody. We have to look within, see what's going on within us. If we have a particular goal, I know sometimes, right, and this is the reason why I shared the testimony. Sometimes in the midst of accomplishing the goal, our purpose starts to get convoluted, starts to get a little bit cloudy, because we get so deep into doing that we forget why sometimes. Do you guys ever feel that sometimes? I don't know, maybe it's just me, but we're just doing and doing every day, and then we forget why we're doing. We have our goal. In your view, we have our goal. We start from here, and we keep working, put our heads down, and then you kind of just come up for air once, and you're like, what am I doing, right? So look within, okay? We know Ephesians also for the book that addresses family matters, especially in regards to husbands and wives and children. So if we start to jump ahead, number one, we said, let's look within. So we're looking at within to ourselves. Number two, we're looking within reach. So I shared this with the children. I shared this way so that it'd be a little bit easier to remember. What's within reach? This is within reach. This is not within reach. Babe, hold your hand out to me. Come on. Hold your hand out to me. Oh, man. That's not within reach. Thank you for helping me. Okay. Jet, reach out to me, Jet. Thank you, my friend. Jet is not within reach. Even Erwin is not within reach, right? So we are fulfilling our purpose in life. One way that we can do that is we look within reach because we have our family right there with us. So let's look into that real quick. Let's read that section there, if you don't mind, in chapter 5. It says, "Wives, submit to your husbands as to the Lord. For the husband is the head of the wife, as Christ is the head of the church, his body, of which he is the Savior. Now as the church submits to Christ, so also wives should submit to their husbands in everything. Husbands, love your wives." I'll just read fast. "Just as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her to make her holy, cleansing her by his washing with water through the word, and to present her to himself as a radiant church without stain or wrinkle or any other blemish, but holy and blameless. In the same way, husbands ought to love their wives as their own bodies. He who loves his wife loves himself. After all, no one ever hated his own body, but he feeds and cares for it, just as Christ does the church. For we are members of his body. For this reason, a man will leave his father and mother and be united with his wife, and the two will become one flesh. This is a profound mystery, but I'm talking about Christ and the church. However, each one of you also must love his wife as he loves himself, and the wife must respect her husband." So number one was looking within. Number two was looking within reach. So God has given us our family, right? So as we are going out and as we are attaining and accomplishing certain goals in our lives, we obviously have our family to help us remember the reason, right? I can't think of a particular instance, but usually when I have an example, I write it down. But for example, I'll ask Jasmine, "Hey, babe, what do you think about doing this?" Right? Because I have a desire to, for example, do more missions work to serve the Lord. Really, everything that I think about and do is revolved around making sure that myself and my family that we're serving the Lord. Literally everything, right? And the reason why, for example, we wanted to start to do a business originally, a service business, cleaning, whatever. It eventually turned into everything business because everything gives every kind of money. That's literally what happened, right? So we're just trying to make ends meet at that point. But so even nowadays, I will dream about, "Oh, babe, what if you started your own thrift store?" Like, I really have dreams of being a business person, really for the sake of, being your own boss, and then you can go to missions. Or, you know what I mean? I just have these dreams of doing these things. But, who knows if God will ever open the door for that or whatever. But nevertheless, God has opened another door, right, for us and has given us at this very moment opportunity in the Philippines. So we're praying for that right now. If it doesn't happen, then God will open another door for us. It's really that simple. But I have these dreams, like, for example, wait, what if you open a thrift store? It would be so awesome. Because we know, let's say like in Park Ridge, I can't think of a really good thrift store in Park Ridge. Park Ridge is a fairly affluent neighborhood, right? And I'm sure that they would have good clothes to donate. And just imagine the business concept of a thrift store. The overhead is what? Maybe initially when you open the store, you have fixtures, you have to outfit the space, and then every month, you have to pay for electricity and whatnot. Some people actually buy used clothing, but a lot of people, they literally survive off of donations. And I'm sure that maybe you guys are aware of Salvation Army is the top 2 or 3rd nonprofit organization, but the richest nonprofit organization in the world, right? And so we did a little study because we were trying to figure out ways to raise funds for church, and that was quite a staggering thing. I forgot the other one, Salvation Army, and I can't think of the other one. But nonprofit, they're the richest in the world, right? So it's like, God, why can't we do that? Right? Why can't we find a way, Anyway, and I'll tell Jasmine something like that, or I'll be like, babe, what if we, one of my other ideas or thoughts was like, what if we had a drive-through coffee hut? Have you guys ever seen one of those before? A drive-through coffee hut? I'm not talking about Starbucks, you guys, but there are in certain areas of the states, they have literally like a shed. It's a restaurant, but it's only drive-through. It's coffee, and it's only open in the mornings. And some of you are like, maybe there's a right. But I was telling Jasmine, she'd be like, nah. I'll be like, but it literally like self-sustaining, like you know, aside from the startup and she's like, nah. I'm like, oh come on, you're like, nah, right? There actually used to be one. For those who might remember, it used to be on Dempster, by east of the Edens, where I think Kinko's, Dunkin' Donuts, there used to be a drive-through coffee hut there. I don't know if you guys ever, that was back in the 80s and the 90s. But anyways, it closed down, I think because of Starbucks. That's true too, yeah. Where you would get film and drop off film for development, right? Stuff like that, yeah. And then Walgreens came out and probably cleaned them out, right? But I'll come back, I'll tell Jasmine these ideas. She'd be like, no. And she'd be like, what's for what? You know, she'll say something like that. You know, and she'd be like, basically what she's saying is, what's the reason? And I'll be like, well, that, you know, we could do this. Maybe it would help us alleviate time. We can do missions. We could be our own, you know, be our own boss. How many of you want to be your own boss one day? Right? That would be great. Oh man, if we can be entrepreneurs, you know, there's an unfortunate saying that Filipinos are the best. They're the best of everything. They're the best imitators, but the worst innovators. It's an unfortunate thing, right? Have you heard of Filipino entrepreneurs? Not too much, not too many. Have you heard of Middle Eastern entrepreneurs? Yeah. They hold how many Dunkin' Donuts? And that's not even being racist. It's true. It's completely true. We have a friend from our gym. She owns an HR restaurant, what do you call it, consulting, right? And their account is Dunkin' Donuts. What's the other one, babe? What's the hamburger? They have like a lot of, so they provide the HR, it's later in our gym. And every one of her Dunkin' Donuts owners is Indian or Pakistani. And it's not even joking. You know, like, welcome to Quickie Mart. It's not even a joke. Welcome to 7-Eleven. What kind of Slurpee can I give you? You know, that's not even a joke. They literally hold that market, right? And I don't know if you guys noticed. Maybe you saw, or some of you didn't come on early enough, but Brother Randy, right, when he passed away, if you notice, there's a certain group. If you're at the wake service, there's a certain group on the side, and they were all Domino's owners. I don't know if you guys saw them, but I think 2 or 3 out of the group of Caucasians were also Indian or Pakistani, right? So anyway, back to it, I'm thinking, babe, let's do this or let's do that. And she's like, why? What's the reason, right? Why do you have to do that? Basically, like, that's a dumb idea. I'm like, babe, why would you say that, right? So she helps. If I don't look within reach, then at times we keep going here and here, thinking all these crazy things. Things are not achievable. Things are not really would fall into what God wants us to do. So we have each other. One of the things that God spoke to me about when I was reading through husbands and wives here, as you guys probably have read many times, one of the things really that I came across was the word consideration. In everything that we do, as we know, for many of us here who are married, we always have to obviously take into the consideration of our spouse, right? As of recent, I've started to become more and more interested, for example, in firearms, right? So potentially for mainly initially for the thought of, what's it called? Just recreation, pew, 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 right? But then maybe in the future, pew, pew, maybe in the future the possibility of home defense, right? But it's literally, I do believe this is crazy. It's like 1 in how many millions, hundreds of millions, whatever, would you ever be involved in an actual, shooting or something like that, right? But what do I mean by that? In consideration of my family, first of all, my wife, would she even be comfortable with a firearm in the house, in our house, right? And so even just that simple thing, like for example, the goal is to help protect our family, And so what reason? Well, I want to have fun with it. I want to shoot it, because I like guns. But then obviously I have to, within reach, my wife is there, and literally a gun is within reach, right? But within reach, if I'm looking within reach, my wife has some say in that, right? No, I don't feel safe with a gun in the house. Well, then maybe not right now. I have to convince her a little bit. But she gave me the okay already. Yay. But that's another story. So we look within reach. We have consideration of our family. Like, if we are trying to pursue a particular goal and we have this purpose, this is the purpose, our family is also there to help us keep grounded, right? As we submit to one another, right? Especially, for example, wives, submit to your husbands. In terms of consideration, we don't just make decisions by ourselves, especially when it's something that'll have bearing on the schedules of our family, the physicality of our family, the physical presence of our family. Like, for example, as much as I would love to join a basketball league on Monday nights at the Windy City Fieldhouse, playing an open men's league, I've looked it up and I've researched it. It would be a 4-hour commitment on a Monday night. And what is Monday night? Monday night is my only free night out of the whole week. So would I want to give that up? And what do you think Jasmine said about that? No, what do you think she really said? Like, babe, I want to join a league. What do you think she said? What do you think she said? She said, yeah, go for it. It's exercise. I'm sure you're going to enjoy, whatever. But then what is that? What am I going to miss out? I'm going to miss out hugging my son, wrestling with my daughter. This kind of sounds weird, right? But that's kind of how it goes in our house. My daughter likes to wrestle with me, and I just force hug my son all the time because he's so huggable. Look at him. How can he not hug that thing? All right? So, Brother Hansel here, this is silly, right? But no, we take into consideration really what's going on in our families, right? Even if you don't have a husband and wife, if it's just mom and daughter. Imagine how much more, Ate Cheryl, right? If Alyssa didn't show up for dinner that night. Oh my goodness, Alyssa. Right? Oh, Mom, I ended up let's make up something. I went to the burrito place. And Ate Cheryl made, one night I went to the house, helped them with their car, jumper car, Alyssa's car, and she made great, what kind of soup was that, Ate Cheryl? But, oh man, it was good. So let's say one night she makes that soup, and then Alyssa, right, goes out with a friend, and she forgets to call her mom, and then where did she go? She went to Dunkin' Donuts. Around on Dempster right there, and then her mom was like, I was waiting for you, anak. I was waiting for you, anak. You did not. Oh, Mom. And then, where's the consideration, right? But it's just them too. What if you have a family of how many, Joseph? 7. Oh, my. That's why I really appreciate, for example, Pastor Jose. When they have to answer to him, he doesn't have to answer to 6 other people. He's the man in the house in a sense, right? So, you should answer to me, right? So I also do that to my family. There's only 4 of us, but the 3 of you should answer to me. I shouldn't have to answer to 3 of you, right? And they know that because not too long ago I had to chew them out because I did not like all of their behavior. And I yelled and screamed and hollered, and a little tear came down my eye. And I was, and then afterwards they're like, where do you guys want to eat for dinner? Right? So consideration, right? Here on the bottom, on 33, it says, however, each one of you also must love his wife as he loves himself, and the wife must respect her husband. Man, that's quite a full circle thought, right? Imagine a husband, for example, works hard. Whether, let's say, stay at home dad like Kuya Val. That's a lot of work. Or he goes out and works in the corporate. Like Kuya Willie's not here, but Kuya Willie is an engineer for the county. For the county. County, right, babe? So highways. He's highways. Highways, but what that means is that any street in Cook County, that's what he deals with. So sometimes his work site is on Lake Cook Road. Sometimes it's down Higgins. Anywhere in Cook County, that's where his job could be. And he could literally be out in the cold, just like some of our servicemen who work in the airlines. They're out there de-icing, they're throwing bags, just so we can get on our flights on time, right? So just in the same regard that a husband, for example, takes care of him, works, however, each one of you also must love his wife as he loves himself, just as you, for example, work in that same way, that you have that same love, you have that same expression of love and consideration for your wife. Now, wives, in the same way, if you know that your husbands are doing that, taking care of your family, whatever way it may be, right? Or children, if your dynamic is children, mom and dad, or mom and daughter, daughter to dad, whatever. Son to mom, whatever it may be, right? Whatever that dynamic may be. But it goes here, as he loves himself, each one of you must love his wife as he loves himself, and the wife must respect her husband. So although, yes, it talks about the duties of wives and husbands and the differences in their roles there, one of the key things there is consideration for each other. Everything that I do, as I look within reach to my family, I have to have a certain consideration for my family, right? For example, as my kids start to get older, they have some say now in the things that we do in the house, right? Like, for example, not yesterday, but the previous week. Did we have a city meeting last week? We did, right? So that city meeting is half the day is done, right? And at the same time, though, last weekend, what movie was released? Lego Movie. And so we're negotiating. Why? Because we have consideration. Daddy, can we watch a movie? So we're literally negotiating up to the last 2 to 3 hours prior to the movie, because what are we in consideration of? Sunday. If we do a 2-hour movie, that 2-hour movie is at least 3 hours travel. We get there, the credit, or before the movie starts. The previews, man, they're so long and boring sometimes. Last night it was so long. I was complaining. I ended up falling asleep in the movie, and I was snoring really, really hard. And Jasmine was like, right, and but we had to negotiate because we had consideration. We had consideration for each other. At the same time, for example, Jasmine has, depends on what's going on Sunday. If Jasmine's going to cook, she needs at least 2 to 3 hours. We need to go buy food if we don't have it. She's got to chop it up, but thank God we have an Instapot because she throws it in and it's 13 minutes and done. Ding! So that's a good plug for Instapot because it's really fast. But, so even the Instapot has become part of our schedule. Because I ask her, I need to be home at 7. Why? I need to prepare for tomorrow. What? Our lunch. Oh, then that's a non-negotiable. Unless you don't want to eat, or unless you want to spend $30 at McDonald's, right? Because Asher is not a half meal eater anymore. He's a full-blown, full-size meal eater. Oh, Lord, have mercy on our budget. And Mimi is in the, Mimi, will you share with Mommy? Yes. Mimi, it depends where we go. Mimi will share, or you get the kids' meal. Yes. Kuya, what do you want? I want the double cheeseburger. I want Red Robin, unlimited fries, garlic parmesan fries. You know what I'm talking about, right? Garlic parmesan fries. Daddy, ask for extra fries. The fries didn't come out yet. Right? So we're negotiating in consideration of each other, in consideration of our schedules too. Jasmine says, I need to be home by 7 or 8. Why? I need to prepare. Oh, but I need to stop by Mariano's first because it's closest, and I just need to grab a couple things, chop, 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 and then it's ready. And then she doesn't necessarily have to cook, but she's got to prepare. Oh, I have to teach tomorrow. Oh, so yesterday I was like, well, I got to double teach. I got to do the kids. I said, we're not doing anything today. Right, no. But we negotiated last week, right, that we will not watch the movie last Saturday. So we negotiated with the kids. Okay, Mommy and Daddy, so they stayed with Lola last night, or the night before, as they always beg every time. And then, so can we stay at Lola's? Okay, sure. So this is what's going to go down. We have a schedule. I'm going to pick you up around this time. Mommy and Daddy have to run errands. And then we're going to pick you up this time. We're going to watch a movie at this time. And then at the same time, Mommy already has food ready. So blah, blah, blah. So everything is set in consideration. Already a week in advance, the preparation for that. Why? Because we want to make sure that we're also ready for Sunday worship. Right? Jasmine taught this morning in, what's the first batch? Sunday school, right? So I have to give her the respect because she also has to prepare. And then I'm also preparing for children's church. We're all going crazy. And then the thing is, she's my assistant. Also, so I'm like, babe, could we do this game? This activity? How about we're going to do this arts and craft? No, that's dumb. And so we're going back and forth, right? And then I got to prepare for Sunday. Don't talk to me. Right? I don't know how you guys, I don't really talk like that, but I sound like Frankenstein for some reason. But that's in consideration of each other. And, as our children are starting to get older, they start to negotiate too. Because Dad, and then they you guys get this one, parents? But Daddy, you said, right? Daddy, you said, I didn't say when, but Daddy, and then Mimi always goes, Daddy, right? Because now they're getting older, they're starting to have contribution to our consideration of what's going on, and at the same time, contribution to what's going on because they also have things to do. Right? As an example, part of our schedule yesterday was to make sure that we sat down and did their Sunday school homework from the last week. Because I got the message, for example, from Abalencia, they're not here today, right? I got the message from Ate Emma. She said, this is the homework for next week. Read these 3 Bible verses. Did you guys get that homework? Ooh, right? So I said, okay, we have to make sure that we make time for that because it's important. So even that was in part of our yesterday's schedule, to make sure that we read the Bible together during that time. Daddy, what are you doing? And then Asher would come out of the room again and drink water for the 7th, 8th, 100th time, ask me the same thing. Daddy, what are you doing? Really? Asher, you ask me again? But he's even considerate of my sleep, because Asher knows that Daddy works hard and sometimes doesn't get enough sleep. So he's part of that conversation now in a different role, right? So let's go on as we close. In chapter 6, there's a lot of things going on there. But let me go to... Okay, let me just read this next section real quick. Children, obey your parents, chapter 6, verse 1. In the Lord, for this is right. Honor your father and mother, which is the first commandment, with a promise that it may go well with you and that you may enjoy long life on earth. Fathers, do not exasperate your children. Instead, bring them up in the training and instruction of the Lord. So in connection to consideration, as we're looking within reach, right? We're looking at our children now. Parents are looking at their children. they eventually, as parents who have older children, they will start to transition out of being just told what to do and you expect them to follow to a position of you tell them what to do, they might question it. Whether or not it's, sometimes it's disrespectful, sometimes it is respectful, because it is in consideration of a lot of different things, right? And man, I'm telling you, these kids are smart. And I think also in contribution to them being smart is in part media, right? The things that they're exposed to at a young age, the kind of vocabulary, the kind of things that they are seeing, for example, even in their schools, what the kids are talking about. I remember Mimi, what grade was it that we went to Botanic Garden? I went to Botanic with you. Was it last year or 2 years? Second grade? That was a long time ago already. What grade are you in? You're fourth. Okay, that was 2 years ago. Man, I felt like last year. And we were at the table, and the kids are like, I think he has a crush on you. What? I'm like, you're like 2. What are you talking about? It's Mimi's grade. It was second grade. I was like, I think he has a crush on you. I'm like, Mimi, do you know what crush means? And I'm like, where do you think where have you heard it? From a television show. What show was that? I was going to block that sucker, right? And sometimes we really have no control. They hear it in their schools, amongst their classmates, and then sometimes they pick on it, pick up on it, and it comes back home, and then that's where your relationship with them, your closeness with them and your honesty with them really starts to be challenged, because it could be every single day that I ask. Maybe one particular week I'll be, hi, Kuya, what's up? I'll sit down next to him. I'll hug him and squeeze him, right, on the couch. Kuya, who did you play with today at recess? And he'll give me a couple names. I'm like, oh, is he still a good boy? Because some of these good boys are not good boys anymore, right? Is he still behave? And, thankfully, all of the boys, it seems to be all the good-mannered boys want to hang out with Asher because he's a good-mannered boy. So I'm very thankful. And then someone brought Asher to, what's that thing downtown, babe? What was it called? There's a big Christmas holiday thing downtown, and you pay tickets, you come in, you ride rides, and do you guys know what it's called? Winter Wonderland, right? And Asher was like, Daddy, Daniel asked, if I would go to Winter Wonderland. I'm like, do I have to come? No, they invited me. I'm like, good, because I don't got no money for that. And I think they spent like maybe a good couple $100 on that trip. Oh, that's not our budget, but maybe next time we'll invite him to a thrift store or something. And I told the father, I'm like, I hope we can return the favor one day. Oh, yeah, that'd be great. Maybe in 20 years, but I don't know. Who knows when. But so there's a consideration now for the children as they start to mature. Let me close here with this. One thing that's really funny is, I don't know, the things that pop out to me, right? So maybe it's just my imagination, but maybe it really is, the Spirit of the Lord speaking to me in unique ways, right? So number one was, what was number one? Looking within. Number two was, every time I do that, I think of a zombie or something like that, right? But within reach, right? Everyone's on in reach. Listen now, within reach. I'm thinking, for example, in the car, my wife's next to me. She's in reach, right? Literally your family. They are within reach. They're in proximity to you every single day, right? And then, so we have looking within reach, and then reaching out. So reaching out to me, in this instance, is our community. I'm very thankful for this community. If I did not have this community, I think that there's a lot of instances, there's a lot of routes that my life could have taken had I not had this community. I'll give you one example. When I was graduating high school, I was seriously thinking of military because, hey, I'm a practical learner. I don't really want to go to college. I'm not sure what I want to do yet. I knew I was good at math and science, so maybe engineering is the best route, right? And at the same time, too, my parents, what do they want me to do? They just want me to go to college, right? They want me to get a degree in something. They want me to finish something. And I was thinking, okay, well, I want to go to the military, seriously thinking about it. Well, at the time, I didn't go, but I promoted my best friend, and he ended up going. I've mentioned him to you guys before. My best friend in high school. But I didn't go, and one of my considerations at the time, for example, really was the influence that the church and my family had on me. I had a girlfriend. How can I leave my girlfriend? How come you're not looking at me? Forget it. So how can I leave my parents? I think my mom would worry, and she would probably be very skinny because she would pray and fast for me nonstop. And at the same time, I was already involved with the youth. I was a youth leader. At the time, I was already picking up guitar and leading worship. Well, at the time when I was graduating, yes, I was graduating high school, so I was learning how to play guitar, a little bit of piano. I was leading worship and Bible studies, and a little bit here and there, right? And so even that consideration was like, well, if I go to military away, I would have to leave that behind. So that was a consideration. So now, reaching out to my community, so now I have to reach out to you guys, right? I'm thinking, well, what will Erwin, I committed myself to dance with Erwin for a little bit, what would happen if I drop? Well, I ended up dropping. But we danced together in church, but when we were dancing in a troop, I ended up dropping because we could not commit to the time. But now I'm reaching out and I'm taking in consideration collectively those who have influence on my life, my ates and kuyas that are here, that have gone through it, those who are younger, who are looking at me, looking up to me, or maybe looking down at me if they're taller than me. Maybe they're looking to me for influence. Those things come into consideration. But interestingly, when we look out, when I read through these verses, this is what it reminded me of. So let's look lastly at chapter 6, and let's go to the armor of God. And this, interestingly, is what this is what I got from it. Finally be strong, verse 10, chapter 6. Okay. Finally be strong in the Lord and in his mighty power. Put on the full armor of God so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. Therefore, put on the full armor of God, so that when the day of evil comes, you may be able to stand your ground. And after you've done everything to stand firm with the belt of truth buckled around your waist, with the breastplate of righteousness in place, and with your feet fitted with the readiness that comes from the gospel of peace. In addition to all this, take up the shield of faith, which you can extinguish all the flaming arrows of the evil one. Take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God. And pray in the Spirit on all occasions with all kinds of prayers and requests. With this in mind, be alert and always keep on praying for all the saints. That's a superhero. Or what can we call that? That's like Rangers. That's like Navy SEALs. But I think one of the things that we don't think about here, armor, when someone puts on armor, what kind of a person are they? What kind of person are they? A soldier, right? But have you ever thought that an army or some kind of military group or platoon, whatever it may be, you guys know why the SEAL Team 6 is called SEAL Team 6? Because there was the sixth group. There was a SEAL Team 1, there was a SEAL Team 2, and which one is the SEAL team that took out bin Laden? 6. SEAL Team 6 was the sixth group. That's all that it was. Nothing special. It just so happened to be the sixth in succession who got trained, and that particular group, SEAL Team 6, was the one that was called to take them out. There's another SEAL team, other popular ones, but just imagine a unit of military are individually prepared people. They're individually prepared, right? That means that as I reach out to all of you, in the same way that I'm hoping and going back to purpose, that I am accomplishing and doing, and for whatever reasons that I'm fulfilling the certain goals in my life, I'm looking and reaching out to you, and I'm hoping that as you are equipped with the Word of God, in the same way, I'm equipped with the Word of God, and with that same relationship to our God, that we are pushing each other as one unit to accomplish something great for God. For some reason, I thought, man, like, there's no way that you can have, let's say I'm a SEAL Team 6. I'm like a SEAL Team 6 plus. There's no way. I'm too big. I'm too heavy. I'll be too slow. There's no way, right? All these SEAL Team guys are like 6 feet, 240 to 70 pounds. They can squat 500-600 pounds. I mean, literally, these people have ridiculous strength, right? And for me, if I was reaching out, brother, I need your help. Brother, I need your help. Oh, I got shot in the leg. I need Erwin. If he's on my squad, he needs to be able to literally carry his 80-pound ruck, his sack, with his gun, whatever, take my right arm and drag me across the field to shelter. How is it possible unless he himself is prepared? So one of the things that the Lord spoke to me there is that just as I am preparing myself and working on myself to grow, that we all should be doing the same. Why? Because as we are reaching out to each other, we are looking for maturity. We are looking for people who can steer us and guide us in the right direction. For some reason, the first thing I thought of was the army, or army platoon, or military, because they are all individually preparing themselves for a battle that they will face together. Now, we all face battles on our own, right? My 10-year testimony, for example, is a battle that I faced on my own with my family on a day-to-day basis. But in the whole scheme of things, I also would look within. I would also look within reach to my family. And I also very dearly reached out. So some of you probably have given me advice throughout the years. Pastor Zay certainly has given me advice, right? Probably even my mom, I'm not sure, but jokingly but seriously, probably even said, Pastor Zay, talk to Hansel. You know what I'm talking about? She's my mom. She might even do that this week. I don't know, just because she's my mom. But what do I mean by that? Just as we are all endeavoring, to reach our goals, obviously, for whatever reasons that we have, I think one of the reminders to me in regards to this here, what the Lord spoke to me, is that we all have each other. So make sure that we come back, that we are anchored in the Word of God, that we're anchored in regards to what God really wants us to be accomplishing and why we're accomplishing the things that we're doing. Man, I work, it'll be my 3rd year anniversary this coming March. I've been working 3 years at this Jewish company, very great company, very kind. They let me go to missions last year, last August, for a whole month. I came back. They said, Hansel, you're good to us, so we're going to give you a promotion and we're going to give you a raise. I said, what? Maybe I'll leave for 2 more months and come back, right? Maybe you'll give me double. I don't know. Just a joke, but man, 3 years. But what has gone along with that 3 years, okay? I go to work every day. Monday's my only day off after, but every single day, it's a 7-mile, 1-hour drive from here to Cicero and Augusta. Generically, we call it the hood, right? It's not the best neighborhood. So it's practically a 1-hour drive every morning. So every day, I will, except for Monday, I will drive there. For the last 3 years, I will go there Tuesday to Friday, every single day there. Then after, I come here, and then come to church, and I serve here till about 9 o'clock, and then I'm home by 9:15, 9:30. Been doing that for 3 years. Well, Hansel, why? To what end? Well, there's more things that the Lord has been opening. Now, it's been 10 years. I told you maybe in the first greater half, it was really challenging, really difficult. But the Lord, told me, Hansel, put your head down and be faithful, work, and just do your job. You know that I'm faithful, and I'll bless you. And I told you guys at the end some of the great things, testimony of the great things the Lord is doing in my family at the very moment. Where we live, our kids are in great schools. Jasmine's graduating in a couple months with her master's degree, something that I don't even know if she thought she was ever going to finish. And she's about to finish that. And then, there's so many things now. The Lord is opening so many doors for our family, we don't even know what to do with ourselves. We're just like, oh, God, what do I do? Oh, this is so exciting. I'm not sure. Just remember, you still have a day job. And don't forget what I told you. Just keep working. Okay, I'll keep doing that. But I'm thinking, oh, God has got this in store for me. Yeah, Or God has this great unknown, right? That's in store for me. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but, hey, So even with this opportunity in the Philippines for this deal, you guys know about it. We're not even sure if it'll go through. But it's just imagine we were dreaming not even a year ago, guys. We didn't even know what to do with that lot in the Philippines. I had dreams like, maybe I'll open a hotel. Maybe I'll put something there. I don't know. I just had my own dreams, But nothing, where's the money? There's no money for that. But now the Lord has opened up these opportunities. And then what happens when God opens opportunities? Now you have this opportunity. You start thinking more. You start thinking further. You start thinking greater, right? And so really that's how the Lord has blessed our family. It's a testimony of God's faithful to us, and as a response, we try our best in our humanly limitations to do the same, to be faithful to the Lord. And for me, and as an example, Hansel, put your head down and keep working. What does that mean? Just humble yourself. Keep working. Keep doing the work. There's a great thing, and I forgot exactly what it was. Brother Pastor Willie said something in regards to faithfulness and redundancy. Redundancy, by definition, really means that something is overdone, almost to the point where it's useless, right? And so sometimes I feel that even, we do the same thing, I'm training this person, or I'm training this kid in music, it doesn't seem like it's really getting through, or I'm training this person to be like this, or trying to help them with their life, but I don't know if anything's coming through. It seems redundant, it's overdone. God, is anything? Oh, and then all of a sudden there's a spark of hope and a change, and all of a sudden the person is doing really great. It definitely wasn't me, but the point is that the Lord told me, help this person. God, nothing's going on. Hansel, help with this thing. God, there's not even an outcome, nothing to show for. Just Hansel, that's not what you're supposed to be worried about. What you should be concerned about is what I told you to do. Are you doing that? Yes. What's the reason? Because we want to get to that goal, Hansel. Make sure that you get to that goal. These are the reasons we talked about. Remember, Hansel? These are the reasons that we talked about. You have this goal to accomplish. These are the reasons. Don't forget that, right? So as we are accomplishing our goals or our purpose in life, we have 3 ways to accomplish those things. We first, once again, we're looking within. We are then looking within reach. We obviously have immediate family. Some of you really, your family is this church. So cling on to them, right? Example, as you guys know, my mom, she has her own apartment. She's a single lady. I don't know what she does during the week. She doesn't want to hang out with me anymore. But she has also the church family. She has people within reach. They have literally become her family. At the same time, we are reaching out, looking in, looking within reach, and then reaching out. We have the community here. This is what the community is for. If we look at this army unit or this military unit that is preparing themselves, we are all going forward in battle. We say spiritual battle, for example, or combat or conflict, whatever it may be, as a church we are going forward. Man, look at this battle that we're trying to, this exciting battle, we're trying to get land. We're trying to buy a property. How exciting is that, right? But all of you individually are being challenged in your own personal ways, your own personal faith to the Lord, and how you will contribute to that battle. So, as I reminded myself how thankful I am for all of you. As I reach out to you guys, I'm very thankful because I have all of you. I don't know what avenues I would have taken. I may have been in the military. I may have been in the corporate workplace still, and I might not have even gone back to the mission field. I don't know. I'm not exactly how close our family would be had I taken that route, because all of those have an effect. But yet I'm thankful because had it not been for reaching out and looking to my family, or my church family, my community here, to you guys, for that direction, I'm not sure where I would have gone. So in terms of reaching or fulfilling our purpose, we obviously know that God wants us to accomplish something, and we have our different reasons. We have our different means of getting there. But as we look to ourselves, as we consider our families, and as we are reaching out to each other for guidance and godly counsel, I believe that we can get to wherever the Lord wants us to go. Amen? So you can charge me for 16 minutes over. I apologize. But thank you for listening. Let's continue to serve the Lord together. Amen? It's exciting what the Lord has in store for all of us. Maybe your route has taken a detour, whatever it may be. But the point is that we have to make sure that we are focusing on what the Lord wants us to be doing. We have to make sure that we're always gearing back towards the location or the direction that God wants us to be at. So why don't we stand as we close?